Hello everyone, welcome to Tea Time. I am in Los Angeles. I just flew through the night to come from Australia back to the US. And I thought I would do a little bit of a tea time before my jet lag catches up on me too much. And I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I know it's Christmas Eve here in the US. It'll be Christmas in Australia. And so Merry Christmas to everybody, whether you're the day before or the day of. I am here at my sister's house, so we've got a beautiful tree behind me. And I thought we'd do a little Christmas theme talk for tea time. Last week, I wanted to talk about the using your powers for good or evil, and I ended up having some connectivity issues. So I didn't really dive into that as much as I had planned. So I thought we'd follow that theme a little bit, but I needed a new title. So I went with Finding Light and Playing with Darkness. It just sort of felt very Christmassy and wintertime theme, but it is really applicable when we work with the horses. And it can be applicable in a lot of different ways. So one of the things I notice with horse trainers is we often are looking for problems to solve. And that's sort of our job description. You know, what behaviors does your horse have that you don't want them to have? And that's sort of the dark side of horse training, is feeling like we're always up against difficulty. Now, last week, when I wanted to talk about using your powers for good or evil, I really wanted to talk about how much power we have in all of the tiny moments that we recognize our horse's behavior or not. And I think people don't realize how powerful that accumulative attention is. And I just want to encourage people to pay attention to that. And that's really about finding the light in all the things that you love about your horse. So, yes, Patsy, welcome. I really am live. You got here on time, and this is Tea Time. Welcome to Tea Time. So, we want to talk about the accumulation of all of your attention that you give your horse. When do you give attention? Do you give them attention for the behaviors that you love? Or do you end up giving them attention for the behaviors that you don't love? And the way I see it is the lightness in your relationship is the stuff that you love, the stuff that really makes you and your horse happier and healthier and all of those things. The darkness is the stuff that you don't love. Now, that's always going to be there. That's kind of the nature of life, is that there's both things that we love and things that we don't love. And I really do believe that if we can play with the things we don't love without feeling like we have to resist them or change them, obviously safety first. So if there's a safety issue, there's lots of things we can do, using pressure, using tools to make sure everybody stays safe. But that's not my focus in horse training. As for all of you guys who've been following me for a while, my focus in horse training is really in accentuating all the things that we do like. And this can be really, really simple. Things like, when is your horse thinking more? When are they using their brain? And you can see it in them using their ears, their eyes, their sense of smell, their sense of feeling. Those use of the five senses is really when they're using their brain. And this is the lightness I look for the most. And I'm not talking about being playful and knocking things off of a shelf or trying to manipulate the world around them. I'm just talking about the way they observe the world and use their five senses. This is the thing that really lights up your horse in terms of their awareness of the world around them, their sense of safety, their sense of joy. If we can take time to mark those behaviors, reinforce them so they happen more often, we get more and more of that. And it's these little things that make your horse training more and more fun. Now, for every lightness, there's a darkness. And we are going to end up playing with the things we don't like very often. And that's going to be important too. So what's the darkness? I've been teaching this over the last couple of weeks in my clinics, and it's really made sense to a lot of people. You're always playing on a spectrum. So if thinking, using the five senses, is the lightness, what's the darkness? The darkness is going to be freeze. When the brain gets tired, when it can't take in any more new information, when it just needs to process the information it's already had. You could call it rest, you could call it freeze, but it is the dark to the light. And we're never going to be able to get away from that because rest is necessary. There is a need to have times of rest. I'm thinking of this as I go home into darkness. I've been in summertime in Australia, and it's a lot of light. It's a lot of fun. We've been out playing with the horses all day in beautiful weather. I'm going home to the Pacific Northwest where it will be cold and dark, and I am looking forward to the rest that I'm going to get in this season. So rest is a part of life, but it is the dark that goes with the light of thinking and feeling and all of those things. So what I always say is that if your horse is really good at thinking on a good day, on a bad day, the situations that usually cause thinking will now cause freeze. This is not wrong, it's not bad, it's just one or the other. When the brain is fresh and the nervous system is firing correctly, you're going to get thinking. When the brain is tired and the nervous system can't process any more information in that moment, you're going to get rest or freeze. We are going to play with freeze. I say you get your most important training done when you help your horse come out of freeze, use their senses, and then allow them to go back to sleep. Or allow them to go back to eating, whether they're grazing in the pasture or eating hay. That is another form of freeze or rest. And you can see it because the ears stop moving, the eyes stop moving. They just sort of go a little bit blank while they are resting. And that's your freeze state. So if we think of it in like lightness and darkness, just two sides of contrast. When the horse is feeling good, you get the good side of the spectrum. When they are inevitably tired, sometimes you're going to get the bad side of the spectrum. So generally speaking, if they're really good at thinking, then on a bad day, you're going to get more freeze. If they're really good at yield, where they move away from you, but they allow you to come with them, then that's going to be a good day. But on a bad day, that moving away from you, they'll forget to wait for you and they'll end up going to flight. On a good day, horses that are really playful, they like to push into you in ways that make you laugh, that make you enjoy their company. When horses are really good at being playful on a good day, on a bad day, that will often turn into fight, pushing into you in ways that you don't like. So in my training, I really, really emphasize the thinking because freeze is a really easy way to play with the darkness. It's okay to rest. It's okay to practice waking up from rest. It's okay to go back to rest. So working between freeze and thinking is the primary purpose of freedom-based training. That way, if we train the nervous system to think more in the times that it can and rest more in the times that it can't, it means that we can keep finding the lightness in the relationship and playing with the darkness. It's a little harder to do if you're playing between yield and flight or play and fight. That's when you might need more tools, unless you really become good at working up and down the scale where thinking is always predominant. So those are my thoughts about lightness and dark and contrast. We have a huge amount of power in the little teeny ways that we respond to the horses. When we make responses to them, they are more likely to repeat that behavior. So I want to make the majority of my responses to the horses in the light moments, in the moments where their behaviors are better for them, better for me, better for the herd, better for everybody involved. When they are tired, when their nervous system isn't functioning properly, we can play with that. We can play with that in a way that helps them find the lightness again and again and again and again. So I see that I missed some comments here. I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can find them. Kristen says, I am playing with trailer loading darkness of a very scared horse and also trauma. Yeah, so that's when we have trauma, it's an interesting kind of darkness because it's very reflexive. It's not thoughtful. It's very defensive. It's very reactive, and it's very real. So being able to bring them from that place and play with it in a way that allows the horse to continue to develop naturally. They are designed to heal. They are designed to get better. And we can play with them in whatever state they're in to help them keep finding the lightness. Christian said, I had a horse on trailer loading that on good days would do 200%, but on bad days, 40%. Was normal, couldn't do more. But as I knew that, we could still improve on something. Yeah. I find that everything is sliding up and down the spectrum from better to worse and worse to better. And it's really never all or nothing. It's always some part of the spectrum. And thank you, Catherine. Merry Christmas to you too in New Zealand. I would encourage you guys all to think about that over Christmas, over the holidays, when you're working with the horses. There will be moments of darkness. If you can think of it as a need for rest, no matter how badly they're behaving, the reason they're behaving badly is because of a need for rest. Now, rest needs to be balanced with being alive, and that's the lightness that we seek. I really think that horses are designed to rest in small amounts frequently. And if we can accept that, acknowledge it, support it, and then keep marking those moments of lightness, those moments where they're more interested, more aware, more curious, more engaged, we'll get more and more of it. The rest will become better quality, and they'll be able to interact better in an ongoing way. We're never going to eliminate the need for rest. And we probably won't ever completely eliminate fight or flight either. But we can minimize them. We can play with them in a way that makes them less likely, less dramatic, less strong, and makes the light, the thinking, the yielding, the playing better and better and better. So that is my Christmas wish to all of you guys. Thank you for joining me for tea time, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And I'm gonna go home and sleep a lot into the new year, and I will look forward to seeing you next Tuesday for tea time. Merry Christmas.